To many Mexicans, this is what America stands for, a land of wealth and opportunity. Compared to Mexico, where there's considerable underemployment and more than a quarter of the population lives in dire poverty, America is a gold mine. But even though millions of Mexicans are allowed to come to the U.S. to live and search for work legally, hundreds of thousands of Mexicans cross the border every year the only way they can, illegally. To find out more, I traveled to the state of Zacatecas in central Mexico. Zacatecas is about 1,000 miles from Los Angeles, roughly 2 hours by plane. While the minimum wage in the U.S. is $5.15 an hour, in Mexico, the average wage is less than $10 a day. Many families live in shanty towns without electricity or running water and half-built houses because there's no money to complete them. And it's this desperation, they say, that leads them to leave Mexico for the U.S.
I told my wife, I'm tired of this. I'm tired that I don't have any money. I tried to do farming here for 4 years, and I don't get any results at all. And that's the reason I got the United States.
Andres Bermudez left Mexico almost 30 years ago and entered the U.S. illegally in the trunk of a car. Last year, he returned to his hometown with hopes to revive the economy.
I don't see any difference the first day I lived in 29 years ago and now. I don't see any changes, you know, and I see the poor people. I see nothing change.
In towns like El Cargadero, the streets are empty because most of the men have left to work in the U.S. For many teenagers in Mexico, heading across the border after high school is much more common than heading off to college. Have you considered staying in Mexico and what your life would be like if you stayed here?
I guess if I stay here, I'm never going to be like what I want to be. I'm just going to marry and have children, and that's all. That's why I want to go to USA, because I want to have my career and have a nice job.
16-year-old Angie Guzman already has 2 sisters living in the U.S., and like most of the teens in her town of Jerez, she can't wait for her chance to also leave.
There's not many options of a job. That's why I think USA is better. If you want to do something in your life, that's something that you liked, it's over there.
In many towns in Mexico, young people like the ones here at this high school in Zacatecas just plan on going to the United States once they finish school and turn 18. And for many, it's for new opportunities, but for some, it's to meet their parents or other family members who are already there.
¿Quién de ustedes tiene, alce la mano, quién de ustedes tiene familiar en Estados Unidos? ¿Cuál de ustedes tiene el pensamiento de irse a Estados Unidos?
In the United States, Mexican workers doing menial labor can earn in one day what it might take them a month to make in Mexico. So they cross the border, leaving their families behind, then send money back home to help make ends meet.
Many families depend on that money. They get like $100, $200 a month, which allows them to survive.
Amelia Rodriguez Zamaripa is one of those relying on U.S. dollars to live. Where's her husband?
¿Tu esposo dónde está?
Está en Estados Unidos.
For the last 4 years, Amelia's husband has worked in the U.S. He stays for 6 months, comes home, then pays a smuggler to sneak him back across the border. The money he makes, $250 a week, has allowed his family to move into a home with modern conveniences. ¿Este es su casa vieja?
Sí.
¿Y este es su casa nueva?
¿Sí? Esta es mi casa nueva, sí.
Su casa nueva es más buena, ¿no?
Sí.
¿Tiene agua y...
Sí, y luz.
¿Luz?
Sí.
But with the U.S. government increasing enforcement along the border, it is more difficult and dangerous for illegals to cross back and forth. So instead of coming home, they're staying longer in America.
They used to stay for 1 year. Now they stay there more than 1 year, sometimes 2 or 3 years, every time they go to the United States to work.
It's been 2 years since Misraim has seen her father, who is working illegally in the U.S. Is that hard for you to not be able to see your father?
Pues la verdad sí, porque él es una persona especial, muy especial en mi vida.
Still, every year, hundreds of thousands of Mexicans take that illegal, dangerous journey.
It's not worth it, risk your life to cross the border. You know, I told everybody, in order to get American dream, you kill a lot of Mexican dreams.
Getting across the border from Mexico into the U.S. isn't as simple as jumping a fence anymore. Now illegal immigrants must contend with barbed wire, surveillance cameras, and armed Border Patrol agents. In the town of Nogales, Arizona, just across the border from Nogales, Mexico, border agents are searching high and low for illegals trying to sneak across.
Look, this is a dangerous place to be. People have lost their lives trying to enter the country the way they are. And if they make it in, then our agents are on their way with a law enforcement response.
It used to be that the easiest places to get into the U.S. were along Mexico's border with California and Texas. But over the past 10 years, the Border Patrol has made it a lot tougher. And so immigrants trying to enter the U.S. illegally now have to make their way through the scorching Arizona desert, a much longer and much more dangerous journey. There is no shade, no water, but a lot of dangerous creatures, scorpions, coyotes, and rattlesnakes, to name a few. In this area alone, more than 500,000 illegals were apprehended last year. Those were the lucky ones. In just the past 8 months, the death toll has far surpassed the number of deaths in all of last year. I hung out with the U.S. Border Patrol to see firsthand what was happening.
You can see the footprints of the people that come by. And based on the way it looks, I would say a group came by here approximately probably 12 hours ago.
Nestor Ortiz is with BORSTAR, a search and rescue division of the Border Patrol. He says many illegals coming from Mexico get into trouble around this area of the Sonoran Desert.
This is one of the many paths from Mexico through Arizona that people take to get into the U.S. And believe me, it's not easy. The terrain is rough and it's roasting. It's like 102 or 103 today, and on many days it reaches as high as 115 degrees out here.
All along the trail, there are signs of the human traffic that's passed through here, but no people.
So the trail that we're walking on right now, this is one of the many trails used by?
That's correct. Yeah, yes, it is. It's one of the more popular trails out here because it is close to the mountain range. They won't get lost going north or south.
Didn't you tell me that rattlesnakes like to hang out by the trails?
With miles of desert and brush to navigate and the Border Patrol on their heels, many illegal immigrants hire a guide, commonly known as a coyote, to get them across safely. But now it's not just human cargo being smuggled through the desert, it's also drugs.
You might be tracking a group and all of a sudden there's 9 people with marijuana bundles on their back, and then you have to switch your hat from a rescuer back to a law enforcement person.
After hours of patrolling the area, Nestor stops at a house on a Native American reservation and makes a disturbing discovery.
So this woman here is an illegal alien, and apparently she was with a group of 7 people, and her sister became ill. The rest of the group left. Apparently now her sister is dead. Her body's in the desert out here somewhere, and she came to this home to get help.
Nestor calls in a helicopter to help with the search. The woman tries to lead us back to her sister, but has gotten turned around and lost, and we're running out of daylight.
Supposed to be in a clearing area. The lady is wearing a white blouse over black pants, and she has a black shirt over her face.
Finally, the helicopter spots the body.
That woman, I don't know her at all, and it's just a dead body, but like being here, I mean, her sister who's coming now to see her, I feel so awful. I mean, I can't even imagine leaving my sister or someone who I cared about knowing that they were dead.
Less than 24 hours later, Nestor is back on patrol, this time at night.
The desert out here stretches for miles without a house, a light, another car. I mean, there's nothing out here besides lots of animals making lots of noises that aren't familiar to me, and really, it's kind of scary.
It's not long before things get eerie when we discover 2 abandoned trucks.
You can actually see the remains of the bailout of the people that were in the back of this truck. There's some of the personal effects that are still left behind here. The vehicle has no key, no driver.
There's just something that's weird about finding a truck with lights on and nobody around.
We eventually meet up with some other agents who are tracking several groups of illegals making their way through the desert.
How far down are they from here, you think?
2 miles.
2 miles south of here.
The infrared scope zeroes in on one of the groups. Nestor tries to hone in on them in total darkness. Suddenly, the blaze of his flashlight reveals 3 people standing right in front of him. Moments after capturing these illegals, Nestor is in hot pursuit of another group.
There's a group of 18 people just crossed this trail right here. We have a scope over there trying to keep an eye on them right now, but it's currently lost track of them.
This time, he's not so lucky, but it's 3 o'clock in the morning and Nestor is calling it a night. There will be many more just like it.